My name is Theresa Burris, and I am the chair of Appalachian Studies at Radford University. I was born and raised in Bristol, Tennessee, and actually had to leave the Appalachian region to come back to it. I lived in Atlanta and DC and eventually made my way back to the mountains, and now have made this region my life in terms of scholarship and my passion.
You combine your work in education with your work in activism.
I do. I am a humanities scholar. That is my background: philosophy undergrad, English master's, and then my PhD is women's studies and Appalachian studies. And the older I've gotten, the more I have realized the importance of taking scholarship into community. I value the process of thinking critically and being challenged academically, but I think that because we are so privileged to have those opportunities, we have an obligation to give back to our communities. And I don't mean that in a missionary mentality. It is taking our experience and knowledge into communities, but valuing what the communities already bring to the table.
What do you see as the greatest challenges, the greatest threats in the region that you and your students are able to work towards bettering?
I think that if we look at the history of Appalachia, it has been a history of single industry economy, and that has crippled us because we have been dependent on one thing, whatever that is. And I'm not naming names because it's different where you go in Appalachia. Appalachia is a big place. But I think that as a result of single industry economies, when the economy is depressed, the people get depressed. It is not a far stretch to go into substance abuse because people self-medicate if they don't have a sense of hope. And it's easy for outsiders and even some insiders to blame the victims, and they're not contextualizing the problem. And you couple that with the Oxycontin issue, because our drug abuse problem in Appalachia is primarily prescription. And people take pain medication for a reason. We are primarily a blue-collar region, and people legitimately get hurt and injured because it's hard manual labor. But then when you have doctors who are abusing their prescription privileges, there was a doctor just in Dublin who was charged. She was found guilty of abusing her prescription privileges. And then the addictive nature of some of these medications. It's not the victim's fault. So that's an issue. I think the environmental piece of it, and this is what my students will talk about, some of what they'll talk about today. We have had, because of some industries, the environment has suffered. And we don't want it to be a devastated environment in perpetuity. We are trying to do something to improve the environment.
You're a humanities scholar, and you have worked over the years with writers, poets, artists. Where do you see solutions happening in the arts and in the humanities, or expressions of this region? Where are the connections?
The connections are strong and powerful. It's very timely that you're asking that question, because just last week, my friend, who is a dance professor here at Radford, Deborah McLaughlin, and I just collaborated on a dance performance piece, and it was called The Shadow Waltz. And basically what that is, it's through dance, and I was the storyteller, so provide some narrative context, and using poetry. we were talking about the history of coal mining in this region and the increase in black lung. So that's one form of the performing arts. This semester, I'm teaching a social and environmental justice class, and not only am I using nonfiction, I'm using Anne Pancake's novel, Strange as This Weather Has Been. I have used poetry as a form of protest and speaking back to social injustices, environmental injustices. So the arts are integral to celebrating what is positive in this region, but also addressing the issues.
Are you seeing an increase in young people's, students, a connection to the region, identification with the region, and activism response to?
I think that what I have witnessed, and my students can speak to this in their own experiences, what I've witnessed is that it usually takes some kind of catalyst where they are made aware, whether it's through a class that they have taken or whether it's through some type of extracurricular opportunity. You know, it usually is an aha moment that has kind of triggered them into action. But I think saying that, the students who I've witnessed take that responsibility, they are predisposed to activism. You know, they whether it's from their families or just how they were born, however you want to label it, it is something inside of them, it's innate. And they've just been given kind of permission almost to act on their passion.